I'm gonna check the Troy, Arkansas score.
Yeah, they pulled away.
Oh, dang, you're right.
All right, we are live.
Wow. You think Houston was mad? They're winning 91-54 right now, or 45.
Yeah, we had the hangover. All right, well, let's get recording, I guess. You ready?
Yeah,
All right. All right, guys, we are coming off a 23-point victory against the Kent State Golden Flashes. We won 79-56. This is Jackson Garrett. I'm on the pod with Ryan Storm and Norman. It's been a bit since I've been on. I was on for the preseason and then didn't do the first two episodes. Uh, you
rusty.
know, I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys are glad that I'm back. We're 3-0 and another golden age of Bruce Pearl Auburn basketball here. Ryan, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, man. Welcome back. Feel like you're taking your rightful place at the helm of the host position. So happy to be on and talking a little hoops. And kind of digesting what we saw and some things that we saw tonight and talking through that.
Yeah, I am a little rusty. I'm like, what should I talk about next? But you know what we're going to talk about next because we always talk about this at the start of every podcast. Who is MVP for this game? And I think there's only two guys to really pick from. There was some struggles from the rest of the guys tonight, but the two guys I think we're picking from Chaney Johnson and Janai Broom. There's an overwhelming favorite in our text group and then on Reddit, but I think we often underplay Janai Broom's role on this team because we hold him to a higher standard. So I
Dang.
do want to talk about him too, but maybe just talk about Janai real quick before we crown who I think we're going to crown MVP.
I didn't even realize he had a double-double until now. 18 points for Janai, 8 of 12 shooting, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. I think he had a couple blocks in there, but I'm not seeing that. Oh, there it is. 3 blocks. I
Some
mean, that's
nasty blocks too. They were nasty. One was like a come from behind underneath the basket block. I think another one he just grabbed it out of the air near the end.
that's a pretty solid that's a pretty solid stat line, to be honest. But we've seen that so often from Janai, and I don't know, it could be me, but sometimes like he wins MVP so much, so I'm kind of looking out for someone else every now and then.
As long
And
as we admit it, right? As long as we're going into this
yeah, I mean, let's
admitting that if
let's be
Cheney put up
honest.
these numbers or anybody else put these numbers up, we would be going goo goo, like we'd be going nuts. But because it's Janai, we're like, okay, well, we kind of expect that from him. Okay, he
Yeah.
didn't hit a three. He was silent at times.
Yeah, it's interesting because Janai, I don't know his totals from half to half, but first half, I feel like every game this year, first half, he's always been starting off so slow. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't like him starting at the four. Um, because once in the second half, he slides back and we get into a rotation where he's at the five and Chaney's at the four, that's when he's like asserting his dominance. That's when we're getting him the ball. He's comfortable on the block. And that's where these stat lines are stacking up, are these second half performances. If you look for over the whole game, Chaney first half had an amazing first half. Second half, even the first half, he's having some highlight dunks. Was getting open. They were finding him, and then went 2 for 3 from the three. I think in the second half, when we needed some buckets, he was there. He was getting those. Um, so I think the majority, the overwhelming voice of the audience is going to go for Cheney. But man, Janai makes a strong case. I'd love, and maybe we'll see this in Maui, but I'd love for him to put two halves of basketball together and get a 25, a 30-point game because it's there. But the fact that Cheney had that same stat line but had some plays tonight that really stuck out, I think that's got to be our MVP.
Sometimes it's when you do it for these MVPs. We notice if it's a tight one, I'll kind of come down to which player kept us in the game when things got tough, which player started a run that took us to the end of the game. Janai also scored at least 4 or 6 of those right down the stretch. Like literally in the last like 4 minutes, he scored a couple baskets real quick after we'd already kind of gone back up by 15. Didn't quite feel as meaningful. His blocks were huge, like you're talking about. I mean, this stat line's crazy. We've just gotten so used to it with him. 18
Yeah.
points, 12 rebounds. That's an amazing stat line, but that's an All-American we're watching out there for sure. And so when he doesn't, like you said, he's not put the two halves together. I think you make a great point about how he's starting at the 4 position. I think there's something strange going on there. Maybe with Cardwell down there on the 5, it's blocking things up where he would usually go to work down there. Maybe partially it's there's a lot of guys on this team we're hoping can be good scorers. And we're being very unselfish. And later in the game, Janai's like, "Give me that ball. I'm going to finish something
Yeah.
here." When he's trying to pass that ball around and get that open shot, and they're not going to give Janai the open shot. They aren't going to give Janai the open shot the entire game. But for him, what an open shot is just so different because he is absolutely lethal with that left hand. Holy crap. He's got to be shooting like 95% from that left hand. He drives the ball, puts his shoulder down, puts his body in between the ball and the arm, and kind of does that little left hand over on the side. And it's unblockable, it's unstoppable. And when they try to stop it, they end up fouling or it goes in. His touch is unbelievable. He's going through contact, driving front facing towards the goal, finishing and getting the foul and hitting the free throws. So he's just spectacular. Enjoy every moment you get to watch with Janai. But we got to talk about our boy Chaney Johnson, who had a great game. If we were looking at the Reddit MVP votes here, which come on Reddit sometime, let us know what you think the MVP is. Come on the YouTube, let us know on your YouTube live chats what the MVP is. We got T Grogan or TG Rogan, Chaney Johnson. Drummer Drew, Chaney kept us steady when everyone else went cold. Game Buster 0703, got to be Janai. Dude took over the game from the very start and only didn't drop 25 plus because the offense forgot how to operate for a bit. AU Bear, Reddit legend, he said Chaney. Ribs and Whiskey, another Reddit legend, said Chaney. So I think, we've got a good point there with Janai, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Chaney votes and 1 Janai vote. I think it's fair if you gave it to Janai. I'm not going to blame you, but I think Chaney did keep it steady all game, and we saw him all over the court. So if I put another factor towards Chaney. Chaney hit threes this game when no one else was hitting threes. We ended up at 25% from three, but man, was it like that was just hitting a couple down the stretch that got us up there. We were below 20% the whole time. They were throwing zones and double teams at us that we could not shoot out of because we were shooting so badly. But Chaney hit some shots. That was huge. He's hitting these great floaters under the basket. He's not hitting, but throwing down some great dunks in transition. I was probably Chaney's biggest skeptic coming into the season, and I still have a lot of my skepticism because this was a lower division team, a G5, as you would call another sport, or a mid-major. So, yeah, those are the kind of teams I expect him to thrive against, but he did his job out there. It got tight. It got down to 4 points at one point, but Chaney just kept chugging. His score line ended up being 18 points, 2 blocks. How many rebounds? 5 rebounds here, 2 of 3 from 3. That's who my vote is. And as long as Storm, let's see what Storman agrees.
I mean, I would agree. And look, the past couple games, has been like solid. And I think we all were expecting him to start this year, right? Just because like, oh, he's next to the line to start at the 4. And then, everyone got all in a tizzy when I predicted that Janai and Carwell were going to start, the year. But I it's such a dilemma, right? Do you Cheney's such a weapon coming off the bench right now that do you sacrifice, that production coming off the bench to, get that starting lineup to start games off maybe better than what it's starting off as now? Or, I don't know. It's an interesting thing that we're gonna have to keep an eye on. Because I think Janai could string these monster games together, but the offense at the start of these games looks so out of sorts because I don't really know if Janai knows like where to be when he's at the 4, or the ball just doesn't move as well. It sticks, or he's getting the ball at the top of the key and is jacking up threes to start games, and it's like,
It's not just jack up three, it's contested threes, it's step back threes.
yeah,
I know he wants to prove out that he can hit these threes for the NBA. I know he believes he can be that kind of guy from 3 point land,
he
but
can
it's
be,
got to
Jeff.
be open threes. It's got to be open threes, not even, I'll even take in rhythm of the game threes that are slightly contested. It's the step backs, it's the force threes that are really an issue, and they're going to kill his percentage also. So I'm glad he didn't shoot as many tonight. He shot two. I don't even remember them, which is a good thing because it's every game. Usually I notice one or
Well,
two
it
where
was
I'm
the
like, don't
first
shoot that one.
his first possession. He shot a three.
Maybe it's because I was just getting the game on,
Yeah,
you
it was
know.
the first one, and it was like every single game. I think the first possession. I may be wrong about Houston, but I remember he has taken the first shot from three.
They'll
Um,
start letting him shoot the three again. Yeah, they've been guarding him because he made a good amount last year, and I think people see him as a threat from three. So I wonder if they'll back off a bit just in time for him to show that he can still hit them as long as they're
yeah,
open.
but also they're contested because he's playing a position where the guys are more versatile at the four and able to step out. And like when he was, when he's at the five, like the guy is still down there protecting the lane a little bit, and so he's just like, I'll just step back and um,
A great point. Another reason why it's weird that we have Cardwell and Broom in there at the same time to start. That's another huge storyline. It was what I was going to go to next. We were talking in our text. Bruce, another one that he never takes heat check timeouts and he doesn't like messing with his starting lineup. And this year he said he was going to do it. I did not believe him that he would actually change the starting lineup minus some sort of big change up in injuries or something. But tonight he changed it up. He started Denver at point guard, Miles Kelly at the two, CBM at the three, Broom at the four, and Cardwell at the five. So Miles Kelly was the big switch up there. I know we've had, we could talk about why we think he would have done that. I think it's interesting that he's already moving Denver Jones to the point guard position, at least as an experiment in this game, when everybody kind of assumes we want him at the two position the most and we rather him shoot. We talked about was that like an incentive or trying to play a little mind games to encourage our point guards to play a little better to say Denver could play backup. And now it's seeming like legit, like they want Denver to play the point guard at starting position. Or at least they're trying to get us there. So I don't know. What do you think about this change up in the starting
yeah, I
lineup?
was kind of shocked to see it, honestly. I didn't have time to look to see what the starting lineup graphic was for the game, so when I turned it on, I saw two bringing the ball up the court instead of one or zero. Um, I it could be sending a message to you know, Pegues, like the guy that's been starting, or um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good sign that we have different combinations that we could throw in there together. And it's not like set in stone. And I think we're just getting started to see how they all is going to roll throughout the year, starting, which Bruce has said this plenty of times, and we have said this plenty of times. It doesn't matter who starts the game, it matters who's in there finishing and stuff like that. And that's always going to look different than who starts. Um, and so, regardless of who starts, you have such a, when we make that first substitution wave, we don't drop off. And it's just like last year, too. But I think even more this year, that drop off is less and maybe even elevates us a little bit after that first change. Um, but seeing Denver start, I think we're just buying time for Pettiford to start, I think, essentially. Um, and I, I I'm not reading too much into it because we're still winning and we're still playing well. And, regardless, like Miles Kelly started tonight.
I feel like if
Like,
that's true, if we really want Pedford to start one day and we think he's got that in him to start, I know you mentioned that in our text messages too. You would think they would just keep line up the same then and just say, hey, he'll take over JP's position eventually. Because just not JP's not killing us necessarily. Now we can talk, we can get, this will probably be the most negative thing we have all game is talking about him right now, but he's not unserviceable. It's the kind of thing where you could probably play him all of that at conference and then switch over to Fedford and SEC. So it's Denver is the one that you don't want to have to play out of position really, right? Because it just changes
yeah.
everything. So I don't
Well,
think it's that. I think maybe they really do. Miles Kelly played well in that first game. And if anything, we overreact always to these first couple of games. We said in the
yeah, of course,
preseason that
always.
we would not overreact to a freshman five-star playing well. We were not going to overreact, no matter, at least personally, I am not going to overreact to anything this five-star does until SEC play. He comes out and helps us beat Houston, has an amazing game. Uh, Field of 69, I think it's their name. Field of 68, maybe is their name. Several other podcasts heard like, this guy's special. He's gonna be so good. Like now, I'm changing all my thoughts on the Auburn basketball team. I'm like, hold the brakes. He played so good. It was so good to see that and know that he has that in him. But we'll see what happens. And before this game started, I texted the gang, the Jungle Podcast gang, and I said the two things I'm watching is can Miles Kelly replicate what he did in the first game, or even look good in this third game because he really dropped off in the second, or could Dahad Pettiford do what he did again last game. I want to see if these guys, if those were blips or if that's something they're going to be doing. And both of them kind of were quiet this game. So that was not a great sign.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to get through Maui before I form any sort of opinions because that's going to be a men against men type of tournament, especially that first game against Iowa State. Um, but like when we're playing when we played a good team, and I mean Houston was a really freaking good team, and they're gonna be in the top five all year. Um, there were guys that showed that they're players and they could show up, and Pettiford was one of them, and um, so it's gonna ebb and flow all year. I still think, like I kind of wish sometimes Miles Kelly didn't have that game. He had the first game of the year where he was just like, because now that's what Auburn fans, that's what they all expect from game in and
Th-
game out.
3 points, 1 of 3 from three, 1 of 5 from the field, pretty quiet.
He see
He drove the ball once or twice, but not a lot. He
he's
didn't
still
kill
trying to
us
figure
either.
out what to do.
He
Like
didn't
you
go
can
0 of
see,
8 or anything. Like the Houston game, he went like 0 of 6, right? Or something like that. So at least he didn't keep digging the hole deeper when it wasn't going in.
yeah. I mean, here's the deal. The guys are still trying to figure out where to go, where to fit in, where to move on offense. Like there's many times on offense where like guys are kind of running into each other, you know, all that, and yet we're still having a terrible shooting night and beating a team that's kind of like projected to finish towards the top of the MAC. It's whatever by 23 points. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a no sweat, but you have all these things that you could try to fix and tinker and get film on for us to coach up and do that can help elevate us to that next level moving forward. But yeah, I'm curious to see what we do against North Alabama in terms of a lineup. Is it gonna? I have a feeling it's probably gonna stay the same. You know, it's interesting. I never thought I thought at some point Denver would start at the one. I thought I was more curious after the Houston game if Pettiford would start at the one because you might roll with the hot hand, but I see him being a guy that comes off the bench the rest of the year, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. Uh,
I If you want to get your voice heard on this podcast, come to our YouTube live or tell us on Reddit. Chris Thomas said War Eagle Cheney MVP for sure. Great D as always. Sam Smalley said Cheney has played the best on the team through 3 games. Denver, Todd, Kelly, Cheney, and Broom are our best 5. Wow, Cheney best through 3 games. All right, I'd probably say Broom, but Cheney has played well these first 3, even against Houston, which I was a skeptic of the group, so. I was watching him in that Houston game to see if he could play against elite talent. He played really well. Chris says again,
yeah.
now is the time to experiment with the lineups. Finding a solid first 2 rotations that start fast is more important than putting the best 5 on the floor immediately. So get your comments in there if you get a chance. I think something to talk about here, like along with what we're talking about with Pettiford and these different players, is a narrative on this game. We went up big early, 10-0, and they took a timeout. Then we were up 20 points early. You would Ryan even texted. I was really close to doing the same thing. Texted, I don't think we're going to learn much this game. Well, we ended up learning a lot
Yeah.
because they got it back to 4 points. And that if we're being a
Uh,
little negative on this one, it's because we really let it slip away. We shot terribly. They started throwing some double teams. I guess really originally they were throwing that double team and we were passing around and getting out of it. Tahad came in. Maybe I'm putting too much blame on him. I felt like he didn't deal with the double team super well, like a little bit in, maybe like near the end of the first half. We stopped passing as well. We stopped hitting the shots. And then early in the second, they started throwing a zone that really got us messed up. We couldn't hardly do anything. They got it back to 4. I don't know. We ended up
I,
pulling away eventually, but at first it just felt like we were grown men playing against a junior varsity team. Something about their defense and zones threw us off. We stopped playing good offensive basketball. We started playing a little hero basketball at times, but I don't know. I think it's just overall, I'm glad this happened. I'm glad we got to learn something here. When Tahad looked a little overwhelmed, he had a couple moments there late first, I believe it was, where he ended up picking up 3 fouls. He turned the ball over some. He freaked out a bit. He's a little loose with his handles. I know Stormer disagrees with that, but he had some very freshman moments against that defense. And Kent State, they're going to be good. I'm sure they're going to do well in their
Scrappy.
conference, but like
They're scrappy.
yeah, we needed this kind of game where you win and you pull away eventually, but you still learn and no one comes out too overconfident in time for the next game.
It's so funny that like people, you know, everyone overreacts to these type of games, and then we play a team that's of the same caliber or better, and then like everything just tightens up and looks more clean. And like sometimes this is the reality situation is that you play these teams that are super scrappy. They're gonna throw random 1-3-1 zones, 2-3 zones, where like you may not necessarily see that in SEC play. Like we may see zone in SEC play like two or three times, like realistically. But against Kent State, like they're just going to throw stuff to try to get these teams off of balance. And we saw it tonight. I took some notes. I said Kent State went zone at 6 minutes left in the first half. Chris Moore sucks. He missed an alley.
We had a weird lineup we both agreed on. What was
Yeah,
that line? Do you remember? It was like Cardwell, Cheney, Chris Moore, Pettiford, and JP Pegues, I believe. And that
yeah.
lineup just that's where the the ship started hitting some rough waters for sure. I think we looked up and they were passing the ball around. We're like, who's gonna take the shot on this one? There's not a lot of offense out there. Like we love Cheney, but we love Cheney as that guy that's not like the fourth or fifth guy out there when they pass it around that he gets his guy and he's open because he's the guy they left open kind of thing. But I think
Yeah.
they were looking at Tahad to make a play there, and he did not make a play. He looked a little overwhelmed as the center of attention. So I think that's something to look at going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Kent State went on a we got cold, we got stagnant, and Matt's gonna love to say this, but these are the type of zone busters that you miss Jalen at the four, right? This is what he was tailor made for. So now we got to figure out, what that looks like moving forward with getting someone in the middle of the lane. Janai tried to keep flashing in the middle of the lane, but we weren't really getting to him. When we were getting to him, and it's like they were crashing down and we couldn't get anything out of it. So I'm taking it as a learning experience. I think the coaching staff will too. We turned a little lazy after we got that big lead, just in the sense of I think I wouldn't say mailed it in, but we thought it was going to be a cakewalk like Vermont. And, Kent State was a little scrappy. They had some dudes that could score. And we just got real lazy in that first half stretch, and the lead narrowed. Then we came out of the half with a weird technical. I don't really know what happened there.
Oh,
Um,
JP Pegues, I saw the replay. It was like the shot clock shot by Kent State at the end, like off the ball. JP Pegues just like shoved his guy super hard.
uh,
So shout out to who was the guy's name on the other team that just roasted us the whole time. Davis, was it Davis on the other team? They got us. I think it was. Yeah,
yes. Yes.
Von Cameron Davis must be Dutch. Anyways, he roasted us. He came out like he wasn't. He had three fouls early. Was playing well, and then hit his first two free throws. Then hit a three, and then just stayed hot the rest of the time. Ended up picking up his fourth foul a little bit in there, and they had to bench him for a while. Luckily, like I can't believe we had really lucky that he got his fourth foul. He came back out there. Stokes just kept hitting shots. So we don't always talk about the opposing players, especially not when it's against mid-major at a conference. But shout out to Von Cameron Davis. We couldn't stop him for a while there, and I don't know how to diagnose that. He just hit some good shots.
Yeah, shout out to Ben. He was our player to watch tonight. He did the scout, he did the research, and he called it out that that was our player to watch. I'll give him a shout.
Ben hates that I forget to look at our socials. He's Ben
Uh,
is play y'all give find Ben's socials, follow us on socials, give him some likes, give him some claps because Ben is working hard out here and doing so much more research than I do. Sorry, folks at home, that I have not done my proper
yeah,
research like Ben does.
a lot of love for Cheney in the chat right now, which it's deserved. I mean, look, he has had double figure points in every game. Had 11 against the good Houston team, had 18 tonight. I mean, if you recall this time last year, Cheney was like a flailing deer out there, just like no idea where to go. We were all like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we just took this Division 2 dude," and like very nice of Bruce, but it's like, come on. And then he kept growing. He kept growing to his body. The speed of the game caught up to him. We'll always point back to that Georgia game last year where Jalen was hurt. He came out. He put up double-digit points there, shot the ball really well. And since then, his trajectory's gone up. And so, yes, it's fair to continue to have a little bit of a judgmental eye on him to see like will he continue to prove this game in and game out. But 3 games in, he has found a role on this team. Um, he's not sulking because he thought he was going to start tonight or start this season. Like he's coming off the bench and absolutely making a difference. And like that gives us an advantage more than I think any other team in the conference right now, having someone that is a starter at the 4 but coming off the bench and providing that, and then you're sliding Janai back into his comfortable position. Like that gives us an advantage that I I mean, we'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the year, but that is exciting to think about that we have all these different combinations and things that guys are playing out of position, and then you make a one move or one change, and guys are back in their comfortable position, and we're even playing even better, because of that.
Do we have a 3-point shooting problem, or was that just a weird night tonight? You don't see this that you don't see us shoot that bad at home very often.
So no, I don't think we do. I think look, so we Houston is known as the defensive, pedestal in college basketball, right? Past 5 years, that's all they're known for. Their defensive stats are crazy. We shot the best against the Houston. We shot better against Houston than any other team in the second half of last game against any other team in the country the past 5 years. 56% from the field. We shot well from the three. So, no, I don't think we have a 3-point shooting problem, but it is something to keep an eye on moving forward because you have guys that um, that you expect to hit open looks and they're just clanking out. And so um, I don't think we
Well,
do. I
the
mean,
the
we
the
saw what we
big
could do against Vermont. We saw what we could do against Houston. So I think we can give it a few games.
I mean, just to rattle some off here that were the most concerning, I guess. Denver Jones started 0 of 5 from 3. Just was There was open shots, they just weren't going in. He's supposed to be our sharpshooter guy. Just hope we start getting it together. Miles Kelly, 1 of 3, fine. We just got very excited about what we saw in that first game, and then he's been kind of quiet the last two. Big one, JP Pegues, 0 of 3 from 3. There was some really uh ones that hurt that were open that just felt like if he had hit one of those or two
Yeah.
of those, it would have been a completely different game. Dahad Pettiford, same thing. He started 0 of 3, or maybe he didn't start 0 of 3. He went 1 of 4, and the one he got was maybe this when you're
It
that
hit the
good just
top, it hit
has
the
it.
top of Neville Arena. It was like going.
Yeah, it like hit off the rim and just it was a very lucky rim bounce, very favorable rim to go in. So we could have easily had two of our guards, JP Pegues and Takad Pettiford, going 0-3 and 0-4, which would have been really sticking out. I think this is a good time to talk about JP Pegues. I know you have some strong opinions on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna tear the guy down, but he clearly he played at a different level last year, and it's still catching up. It's like the speed of the game, and this is sometimes the problem with the transfer portal is that you have all these guys from mid majors or they do really well and they want to take that next step up. In the past, you just had to go overseas or to the G League. Now you are able to step up into a conference like the SEC, the Big Ten, whatever. Um, and same thing happened with Cheney last year. So unfairly, he's getting a lot of the criticism and the blame because everyone thought that he was going to be this guy to come in and put up 18, 19 points a game, which was his stat line in Furman, be a pick and roll guy. And it's just like the game is way too fast for him right now. He looks super slow on defense, like stuck in the mud slow. There was one play against Houston, I remember, where he got crossed up. Uzan crossed him up and like he just looked lost. Um, the ball is also sticking with him on offense too. Whereas if Denver's in or to hide, the ball's moving a lot better. I don't know if you noticed that too.
Different
Uh,
energy with him for sure. And it's not good because if he's not going to be hitting shots, then you kind of need him to be a lot of energy on defense, the way you see with Todd Pettiford. Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
curious to see how he keeps going for. I think it's a big
but
deal. The Denver started at point guard tonight. I think that was a bit of a sign that he's not quite getting it as quickly as we'd like. I think,
But
it's
Pegues played, at Furman. He played in NCAA tournament games. He beat Virginia. He had a great game against Virginia, hit a buzzer beater shot. I mean, the guy has it in him. I just think over a game to game basis, um, there was a lot of pressure. It's a new system with guys that have been there for a long time, right? And with an All-American candidate, and like so, I think there's a lot of factors that are playing against him. That's why I don't want to like tear the guy down right away, third game of the year, but just some things to look out for moving forward that we could flag as concerning, and you never know. Like you could say in December it clicks and the guys, hitting shots, moving the ball well. Like it could be a lot of those factors playing in here that we're just gonna have to wait and see how things play out, throughout the year.
we saw some Chris Moore minutes today that I think we wouldn't have seen in the past if it wasn't for a certain plane incident last game. I think if you want to hear more about the plane incident, it's all over the internet. It's all over Sports
Yeah.
Center. It's all over the national news. It's all over the
On the
national
Today
podcast. It's
Show,
on everything. So go check it out for yourself. We don't, at least personally, I don't know anything more than you can't find out there. Feel free to DM us. We could maybe, I don't know, I don't feel like getting into it. Anyways, Howard and Hudson were both on the sidelines looking like they had a great time out there, but they didn't play. I don't know if you know any more than I do on there's hasn't been any kind of announced like 3 game suspension or anything like that. They just
Lid.
didn't play. Yeah, they've not
Well, I
everything's
think
been
it's
super tight-lipped from the administration. Me and Ben were going back and forth in the text, like speculating if it was a judge thing. Oh, they want to make sure they look good in front of a judge, but I don't think that matters. I think we'll see them again. I think stuff like that. I don't know why we're so getting into it. The big reason I bring it up is just because we had to play. We didn't get to play them. We had to play Chris Moore. So I think you would have seen a little different energy level. I don't know if it would have helped our offensive woes, but it would have been. These are very
It would have
important
helped against the
games.
zone, that's for sure. The way Ja'Kai Howard jumps out of the gym, I think there would have been some fun opportunities for some
And
fun plays because there was a
yeah,
lot of,
I
you
think
know,
there's some energy moments that could have used some of these younger guys that are still trying to like show what they can do out there that would have kind of stayed on top of Kent State when they were freaking out early. But who
yeah,
knows? It's also not great they missed these because these, especially for those two, a transfer portal guy and a freshman, these are the games where you learn the most. We just learned a lot about Pettiford in this one. Other
hey,
people are
what
learning
here's one guy we hadn't talked about. We hadn't talked about Chad Baker.
And I was just about to get into them because I was debating if I was going to go back and forth on like talking about that, but I feel like yeah, Chad Baker had a solid game, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 0 of 2 from three, but he had an amazing dunk where he went on a little run. He's done that the last couple games, and he did that last year too, where he goes on his own runs. And the part of the reason I brought up Chris Moore first is because I believe that in the past that would have been a CBM rotation, but we were giving him some time off and doing some odd rotations without Howard Hudson in. So I think like looking around at that weird Pegues, uh, Tahad, Chris Moore, who else was in it? Cheney and Cardwell. They were just missing that offensive option. That offensive option is usually CBM in a situation like that. And CBM hit some shots. He hit a big dunk. He can do it all. He's skinny. He pulled off some fouls where people fouled him and he looks like he's dead when they foul him. He's still got that like that over dramatic like foul situation in there. He like tried to call for a technical when a guy like barely touched him from behind. They reviewed it and everything. I'm a big CBM fan. He shows these glimpses. I wish he'd gained a little weight, but I've been happy with what he's done the last 3 games. He's just put in
So
a good performance in all of them.
the chat, dude, this is so funny. The chat has brought up, y'all might already discuss this, but I tuned in late. Did you guys see CBM eating a fan's French fry during stoppage in play? And then I just saw the video, and he did he did reach over on the scores table and grab a fry and ate it in the middle of the game, which like this is what makes like a fun basketball year fun is when you have these moments that like you could just classically laugh at because like the guys' personalities and like if we were losing or not as good, these moments would not be as great as they are. I mean, the fact that the whole plane thing happened and like we go and beat Houston and now, Chad is getting people's fries and like just like fun stuff that just is what makes the season so fun when like you're there and you're good and like this could be the type of year that these things come up and happen. It's just hilarious.
Well,
I love it
just
so
thank
much.
God for Bruce has made it so easy for us to cheer for these guys. He's recruited a lot of great kids out there and gave them the green light to have fun, gave them the green light to celebrate. The guys like Cardwell out there doing the French fry that like some other coaches that would just be super hard nosed wouldn't let this kind of stuff go. But like we've had a lot of fun. It's been 7 or 8 years since there was a guy on the team that I like and I'm upset with. Like they
Yeah.
can put in performances or do some dumb stuff every once in a while, but like the heart's in the right place for all these kids, and there's a lot of energy from all of them.
Yeah, and each guy will there will be a game where each one of these players will show up and we will be like, "Oh my gosh, like this is what we've been waiting on. This is good." Like it's going to happen. There'll be a Cardwell game. There will be a Piggies will have
Well,
10
there, I
points.
was about to bring him up next. Will there be a Cardinal game? He's kind of taken these incremental steps over the years. He's back for his fifth year. In 3 games, he has not showed me anything where I was like, oh, maybe he added this little nugget,
I
you
mean,
know?
he is what he is. I mean,
I
that's just
really thought maybe because he had like compared to his freshman year, compared to even his sophomore year, he is way better, way smarter. He can put it in if he needs to when it gets to him. Unlike before, he used to have not be able to do that. At least he like if he gets a rebound, he can put it back. You know, if you get it down low to him, he'll make a competent shot. He had a free throw tonight that looked really ugly, and he clanged it off the back iron and then got his own rebound. But I thought maybe he would have something little, and he might could still show it, you know. But I think he's just very competent on defense and a good leader. And hopefully, I think we both are in agreement, and most everybody on the pod thinks in agreement that Janai should start and Dylan good should keep coming off the bench because that's where he's great at. He's a great bench option.
yeah. Yeah, it's the ability to tinker and do different things with the lineup and also play against matchups too, which is going to be important, moving forward as we go through this non-conference schedule. Um, I think next game we have North Alabama, which, should be like tonight, but a comfortable win, hopefully. And then we are in Maui playing in a top 10
Coming up
matchup,
quick, man. Coming up
playing in a
quick.
top 10 matchup.
Was there
Essentially,
like a is it like a week off in between that? We have like a little gap of time between when's North Alabama? Friday or Saturday?
I think it's Monday of next week. I could be wrong.
Monday. Wow. Okay, that's good actually, because I was gonna give a fair warning that, the boys were getting older and our lives are very complicated. There are kids involved, there's marriages, there's all kind of things. So
Yeah, Monday.
we have never missed a post game pod in the 4 years we've been doing this. We haven't missed a post game pod, and add all the interviews on top of it. But that North Alabama one, I have a sneaking suspicion everyone's going to be busy on Monday. But we're going to try to get you that pod, guys. But if it's not out that night, we'll see.
You better hope that we don't play at the 11 p.m. Maui game while we're there.
No, I didn't even think about that. I don't know why I thought maybe they would be early games for some reason, like early in the morning, but they're very late, huh? And they're during Thanksgiving. I guess I'll be in California. Not to dox myself, but I'll be in California
Yeah,
for
when it,
Thanksgiving. So that'll be good
yeah.
for me, right? That means I'll
Man,
have some like earlier games.
let me possibly, but let me
Who wants to send us to Hawaii? You might want to send the
yeah.
pod to Hawaii.
Yeah, comment below if you want to send this to
Where's our NIL donors?
listen to this. So just looking at the AP, top 25 that just came out, we shot up to five. Um, we have first game of Maui, Iowa State, ranked seventh. Potentially playing North Carolina, ranked 10th. We also just played Houston, which is eighth. Duke is sixth, but they'll slide down a little. UConn, which will be at the Maui Invitational, is ranked three. Um, we also played Purdue, which is ranked 13th. Uh, Oh, by the way, there's Arkansas at 18, Kentucky at 19, Florida at 20, Ohio State at 21, A&M 23, Ole Miss 25. This is your dream schedule, Jackson. It really is.
I love
Uh,
it. I'm very excited. You've all heard if you haven't listened to our preseason pod yet, it is not too late. Nothing we has happened in these first 3 games is going to negate what we talk about in there. It's season long ideas, SE like at a conference long idea. So definitely go back and check it out if you're hungry for Auburn basketball and still want to know what's going to happen this year. I wonder if Hudson and Howard are going to be allowed on that airplane to Hawaii. I didn't think about that. I wonder if some of the strategy on staying tight-lipped and quiet is just like, hey, let's just not make a big fuss. Maybe that pilot that was so fussy doesn't file that report or whatever, and they get on the plane and we have no problems.
There's that's a great point. I didn't think about that. There is what the Auburn Police Department said is that it's outside of their jurisdiction because it was in federal airspace. So you have to imagine there's an FAA federal investigation going on right now. And so that's like, but it's also Chris made a good point in the chat, after the team beat Houston, they did the airplane celebration and you kind of get a sense that like by the way that the team's reacting and the people are talking about it, like I'm kind of ended up siding a little bit with what the team is saying is like it's not as serious as they made it out to be. Just like the way they're poking fun at it a little bit. Because even Bruce was like, "We're gonna have a good ride home." Like if it was like something for real, then I
What
think
I said I
they
wouldn't
would.
get into it, but what annoys me is it was a private air flight. Like whatever you think happened on it, it's like a teen bus in the sky. Like this wasn't like they got on Delta Airlines and caused a scuffle or something with like a civilian on the airplane or mess with a flight attendant. Like we don't know the details necessarily, but like come on, it was a teen bus in the sky. Like calm down. Like it'd be really annoying if this is like a FAA issue and they have to like go through this entire like bureaucratic process and like miss a whole miss every away game this season or every planned away game or if we have to like I can imagine like college sports is so wacky these days. There's so much money involved. Like we hire a private bus that they get on early and they have to take the bus while everybody else takes the plane, to Arkansas and Texas and the
Yeah,
further away games.
yeah. Well, they'll get the Alan Green treatment. You know how remember how you wanted to bust everybody around?
Oh yeah. But
Uh,
they maybe that's their punishment.
yeah, cut all the funding. You know, you guys have to take the bus to Hawaii now. I don't know.
Uh, All right, well, is there anything else? I guess like the one other note I would make maybe is we're at the Ken Palm number one team now after taking down the Ken Palm number one team last time. If you're newer to the rankings, we're AP number 5, which is a huge deal. That's probably the most respected, the one that you're going to see on ESPN, the one you're going to see people quote everywhere. But Ken Palm is the real basketball heads number. It gets more accurate as the season goes on for sure. But man, it's like do the homer take. We're the number one team in the poll. That's important. If we were AP number one and we were Kim Palm number 10, then we'd be quoting the AP poll. But
Yeah,
for
right.
now, we're 1-5 and we're having a good time out there. It's the golden years of Auburn basketball. Enjoy every single one. Do us a favor, send this to some friends. We're going to be doing this all year long. This is our virtual Tumors Corner, the place to be after a big win. So check us out. Tell your friends about it. Ryan, are you having fun out there?
I'm having the most fun ever.
Oh
It's the
yeah.
we crave a winner, right? And we've got a winner right now, and I'm having fun.
All right. Well, that's it for us, guys. War Eagle. Cool. We're still live. Thanks, everybody's live. We missed Pocket Watch. I have not seen Pocket Watch. He must be in jail or something or indisposed because he usually pops in.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, no pocket watch
We
tonight.
really appreciate everybody that did pop in, who's in here. Sam, Chris, Mr. Beautiful. I don't know if we got the shout out he deserved on the pod there.
He's
Grit
always,
Squad has been popping in more often, which is fun. I know there's a lot of other
the thing
YouTubes
about
and
Mr. Beautiful is he's always beautiful.
oh yeah. There's I know there's a lot of other YouTubes and pods popping up these days. I know there's some others that go live now after the games, but we're
It's a
excited
tough
how
it's a tough year for YouTube lives when all these tips are at 8 or 9 o'clock.
yeah, I mean this is when you're putting the kids to sleep or whatever, throw this on in the background. But we're glad there's so many other people covering the sport now. And me and Matt started 4 years ago. Nobody was covering every game. We were lucky if they got basketball, even 4 years ago, after we'd already gone to the Final Four and everything. We were lucky if podcasts were talking about it on the back half of their podcast. Now I think several media organizations have dedicated episodes to it, dedicated live after the game stuff. So things are really popping off.
They are.
All right, well, we'll exit the live here and we'll let you go. And I'll just let you go there, Ryan. And thanks again, guys. War Eagle.
War
See
Eagle.
ya.